I would like to tell you a little bit about the arts and humanities, something we don't usually emphasize here in these presentations. But you know, a key component of the strategic plan is to elevate the visibility of the arts. The Billman Pavilion is a spectacular example of how we're going to do that. But really, the most important thing is who's in those spaces. And so the faculty and students that occupy them, they are the ones who are going to drive the institution to really to exhibit excellence that we really want to achieve. I'm going to introduce you to a faculty member who really exemplifies why we need these fine performance and practice spaces. Professor Michael Dease is an MSU researcher who has taken his art to the highest level. Professor Dees is an award-winning trombonist, composer, multi-instrumentalist, and educator from Atlanta, Georgia. He was recently chosen as the winner of the 2021 DownBeat magazine Critics Poll for Trombonist of the Year. Last year, he was named JazzTime Critics Poll as Jazz Trombonist of the Year, and he received critical acclaim for his recent Posi-Tone record CD, Give It All You Got. He has been featured on 3 Grammy-winning recordings with Alicia Keys and Christian McBride. In 2001, Professor Dees was selected to join the inaugural class of jazz students at the Juilliard School in New York City. He remained there on full scholarship to earn both a bachelor's and master's degree in jazz performance. New York City provided an opportunity for Michael to perform and tour with many highly regarded international artists, who he will tell you more about today. He also had the opportunity to compose large ensemble works, leading to masterclass workshops and residencies around the world. Michael's passion outside of writing and performing music lies in education. Being self-taught until college, he strives to be the teacher and mentor that he missed early on. He is a full professor here in the College of Music, where he teaches a thriving, award-winning jazz trombone studio, along with directing Octet 3 and teaching advanced improvisation 3 and 4. His work at MSU has been recognized with an MSU Teacher Scholar Award, 2 HARP development grants from my office, and he was named one of the 3 Michigan Distinguished Professors of 2019. Mentoring high school musicians is very important to Michael, and he is grateful to serve as the director of 2 respected summer jazz workshops, which you'll hear more about. He has released 14 recordings to date and performed as a sideman in over 150 recordings. Please welcome Professor Michael Dease.
All right. Thank you very much. This closer. Good morning, trustees. Good morning, President Stanley, Provost Woodruff, everybody here at this damp and brisk hour. Before we get started, I'd just like to send out a heartfelt thank you to Rachel Rumsey and Jeremy Justila and Melanie Kaufman and Jamie Flanagan for their help in helping me prepare this for today. My name, as you just heard, is Michael Dease, and I'm proud to serve as professor of jazz trombone here at Michigan State and at the College of Music. My presentation to you today surrounds the heart of my research, which combines university teaching, music composition, and high-stakes performance into an innovative teaching environment tailored for 21st century musicians, aka the next generation. Pictured here, as you can see, is the album recording cover for my 14th and latest recording, which features MSU students, alumni, and current faculty. Here's the clicker. Over the years of my study, practice, and residency in New York, I've tried to develop a versatile, informed, and original voice on the trombone. As both a parts player and an improviser. I'm relieved to say that it has been working, and I've had an amazing opportunity to perform in over 42 different countries, playing jazz, rap, country, pop, classical music, free jazz, freely improvised music, anything, almost everything. And I love it. I love what I do. It's different every day. And it's a lot of fun working with some of my favorite artists and iconic musicians in the world. Some of them I've listed here for you: Alicia Keys, Elton John, Paul Simon, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and then as well into my specialty, which is jazz music. David Sanborn, Wynton Marsalis, Christian McBride, Dizzy Gillespie, All Stars, and Slide Hampton. I've had the opportunity to play at the White House, celebrating my homie, Ray Charles, who's from Albany, Georgia. I'm actually from Augusta, Georgia. We have to go to Atlanta to get to the airport. So you'll see here to the left of the picture with President Obama is the Critics poll this year. I was really elated to learn that I won. Several of my teachers are actually on that list. One of them called me angrily, and he said that he didn't really want it this year. So, but I'm really humbled and honored to be on that list. It's made up of votes from international critics, over 160 from around the world. To the right, you see me making a funny face, receiving the Grammy for the 2018 Best Large Jazz Ensemble with Christian McBride. The Grammy was then quickly taken away, as I wasn't supposed to be taking that photo. And to the top right, you see an article that's in one of the latest editions of DownBeat magazine, featuring this album with our MSU students, alumni, and faculty, as well as the message today: give it all you got. I'd like to play a little bit of music for you. This is some of my guest solo playing that I do a lot. It's one of my favorite things to do. This is after the great Count Basie vocalist Carmen Bradford sang this beautiful song, and she asked me to contribute a solo. So I went to the studio and made this short video. This is an exact skill that I teach my students to do every day. There are a lot of things that are going to happen in this, a lot of things to balance mentally as a musician: posture, bell distance from the microphone, memorizing the music, volume, balance, all those things, plus many, many more. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you. I really needed that applause. One of my bad habits, or good habits, depending on how you think of it, is every time I hear something I do, I think of how I could do it better. So I was like, no, no, no. Okay. Moving on, I'd like to just give a brief overview of the thing I love so much, the style of music, America's classical music, and great contribution to the world, jazz music. I'd like to tell you that, jazz has African and African-American roots. It's where it comes from. The transatlantic slave trade stripped the African slaves of their close connection to the drum and other musical instruments. This is very important to communication and daily life and stability, you name it. Africans, now as slaves, were forced to adapt their musical expression towards European-based instruments. Congo Square in New Orleans, in the Treme neighborhood, if you've seen the show, you see a lot of that neighborhood being discussed. Congo Square is where slaves could socialize and barter without interference from colonial authorities. One of the very few places where people could just be. People were free to be for a second. The musical and cultural exchange between slaves, Creoles, freed slaves, octoroons, quadroons, of which I am, and everyone who came through helped create the joyous, syncopated fusion of musical approaches, becoming the roux or the base of jazz, if you like gumbo. Because of the democratic respect that jazz music was built with, it constantly introduces new approaches, reflecting the new times. This is why jazz is so special here. That's why the sound of jazz is constantly evolving. The story behind the record date, I'll go all the way back. I lived in New York for 12 years. Oops. And as I was approaching 30, I was really trying to get serious about passing on this music to the next generation. Our jazz music has a very strong oral and oral tradition of giving and sharing and teaching, one-to-one. And I started looking at different jazz programs all over the country. What's happening there? How innovative is it? Do they care about the students? Do they bring in world-class faculty? Are guest artists interacting with the students? Highest level of experience to the beginning level of experience. Do the faculty truly care about being here? Do they care about student success, not just in the classroom, but across the campus and outside of the community? And Michigan State was a clear winner for me. And it's because of the work that my dean, Jim Forger at the College of Music, and the director of jazz studies, Rodney Whitaker, they came together and came up with this concept of holistically taking care of our students. And that made it an easy choice for me to send in my application and come out here and become a East Lansing Spartan, go green. Our alumni span the entire country. Their work impacts the globe. Everyone for this record met together in Brooklyn, New York, and we recorded and composed and rehearsed together. Even at this little basement studio that's made hundreds and hundreds of jazz records, alumni, current students, people living in New York were all invited to partake and be a part of this process. All three things are interdependent and connected as well to make the learning process really, really fun. Here's some of our personnel. Anthony Stanko was actually my first student at Michigan State. He took an independent study with me for 2 years, and we had a fantastic time. I said, wow, I'm really at the right place. This student does all the work I assign, comes into lessons with a smile. He even brought me a coffee once. It's amazing. So he was actually just hired as the new MSU jazz trumpet professor after being a director of jazz studies in Florida. Jim Alfredson is an alum and international success as a Hammond B3 star. Ulysses Owens was one of my classmates from my New York days, and it's important for his work as an entrepreneur and as a person in my generation that cares so much about students. I felt that he needed to be involved in this. And then my wife, Gwendolyn Dees, who as my wife is probably the least interesting thing that she does. She is a prodigy percussionist that started her college education at 15 years old and started working here at, I think she was 23, and became the director of percussion. She's now in her 17th year, and she's highly respected and lauded all over the world. So we met and made this recording. Some of the themes of the recording are related to what the work that we do in Michigan State and the jazz studies area. I took these themes like instruction, composition, working through performance, and then realized them here in Brevard, North Carolina, at the 85-year-old Brevard Music Center. They asked if I would be interested in leading and developing this program, and I said, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm from an hour and a half away. There were no jazz camps where I'm from. They were way too expensive to get on a plane and fly across the country. So we started with a low tuition and grew the program from 3 faculty and 10 students to 15 faculty and 85 over 7 years. And then we also created a camp in Tokyo and connected them, sharing students, guest artists, podcasts, you name it. And it's a really wonderful thing for young musicians, not only here in the Southeast, here in Michigan State, but across the world, apparently. So, teaching and research are inseparable. That's really the theme of my research. It's the teaching makes the research more meaningful. It helps me target and be specific in the things that I do so that my experiences abroad can come back and funnel directly into my studio. I love how that works because I get to see my experience mature and present itself as life and growth in the art form right in front of my eyes every single day. So I hope that you will join me at any of the College of Music's amazing events coming up. We have a small ensembles concert where the band that I direct, Jazz Orchestra 3, November 19th, will be performing. We're performing with a guest artist, the great Carl Allen, who's a former director of the Juilliard Jazz Studies program. He will be here and sharing and giving to our students. All right. Thank you so much for your time, and it's a real honor to present my research to you. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you, and I'd love to hear any questions you have. Go Green.
I don't have a question.
Yes.
I just wanted to say, and I'm sorry my voice sounds like this, I had a long
Sure.
night. But when you were saying that you were listening to yourself and you were saying, no, 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 because you're a perfectionist, it sounds like, in what you were listening to. I just want to tell you, I was thinking, yes, this is so beautiful. Like, I felt so at ease. It was so smooth and just amazing. So your talent, it just speaks volumes. I could hear it. And I think we are blessed to have someone like you at this university. So thank you for what you're doing. I just wanted to make that comment.
Thank you so much, Trustee Scott. Thank you.
I'd like to echo that. I'm a big fan of the jazz music in general, but also our jazz program at MSU. And I'm going to cherish these 2 CDs, and I can't wait to be able to listen to them. And I've been able to tour the music building with all its renovations a couple of different times, and I am so grateful for all of the donors that made that possible, because you have world-class, state-of-the-art studios to work in, perform in, and to share your beautiful music with everyone around. So thank you for joining us today. It's been a very exciting and interesting program. Thank you.
Michael,
Thank you.
I've got a question before you leave the podium.
Yes.
In your journey through music, was there a performer that you were standing next to while you were playing that you had to pinch yourself and say, geez, I can't believe I'm here?
Yes, that's a lot of pinches. The one that stands out to me right now is the most recent one. I grew up in Augusta, Georgia, listening to the radio and listening to David Sanborn. All of his songs. My mother liked his music. We had vinyl of him in the house, and he heard me on the radio and called and asked me to make a 2-week tour with him in July. Now, the tour started on July 10th. My second daughter was due July 8th. And so I'm sitting here crossing my fingers, oh goodness, and she was born July 8th. And I hopped on the plane the next day. And just like you said, I was standing next to David Sanborn, my longtime musical hero, and I had to pinch myself. As a matter of fact, I think I have a selfie pinching myself. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Just one question. Well, just one
Yes.
comment. Thank you so much. Obviously, that you gave us gifts. I mean, you won. So that's one. But then I just really appreciate the history of jazz that you continue to present, and your comment about research and teaching going hand in hand. And I just really I want to commend you for doing the research of the roots of jazz and the struggle for freedom and bringing that into your classroom. I just really want to highlight the heritage of music and where it comes from. And I love gumbo, so your roux analogy it landed.
Thank you,
Was
Trustee
not missed.
Vassar. I really appreciate that. It's the history is so important, and we in jazz music that history is tied to slavery, and it's not pretty. It's a tragedy. But the blues arose out of looking at those hard times and having hope and courage, and that's something that our students can learn from so deeply. From the most mundane things like how am I going to get up, make my 8 a.m. class to my flight got canceled and I can't go home for Thanksgiving. That message is something that will withstand the test of time. And however far back you go and we learn from is directly relevant to how far forward we can go. So I love that you appreciate that comment. Thank you.
Do you have social media that we could follow you?
I certainly do. Yep.
What is your social? Like, do you have, which one do you use the most?
I use probably Instagram,
Okay.
Dees Jazz. Just my last name, Dees Jazz. And
Perfect. Thank you.
there's websites, I think, on the CD, and I'm easy to find, I promise.
Thank you.
If there's nothing else, I'd just like to say thank you so much for that amazing presentation. And again, you really drove home, I think, in the most powerful way, the importance of the humanities and arts and how much the multidisciplinary approach you're taking really expands the education that students are getting at Michigan State University. So thank you for demonstrating that so well. And just on a personal note, I had Ray Anderson at Stony Brook. So I did. So I've had two of the best trombonists in the world now.
That's right.
Here, so I'm very fortunate in my time. So and your talent is incredible. So thank you again.
Thank you, President Stanley. I'm a huge Ray Anderson fan. I got to substitute for him on the last George Gruntz recording,
Wow.
where he's the star soloist.
Wow.
He must have had an engagement at Stony Brook that he had to
Maybe I was in with donors or something. I have no idea.
Amazing.
Yes,
Thank you so much for your
Thank you so much. So thank you.
Thank you.